Hi everyone, my name's John and today I'm going to show you how you can build a web application using Bubble from scratch. I go through all the steps I take to build an app, including the ones that most people miss on their first time. If you're wondering what's Bubble, Bubble is a web application that lets you build software for the internet without writing any code. It's super fast, super powerful, and really fun once you get to know how to use it. Say you're a startup looking to build your minimum viable product, or just a business looking to become more digital, it'll be awesome for you. So in this video, I go into the nitty-gritty of building a Bubble app and share my screen with you and talk you through what I'm doing. So let's do this. So the app I'm going to build is a really simple company directory. It means the people visiting the website can view a list of companies and the company owners can upload and add their company. Simple as that. Firstly, I start away from Bubble and I start to write down the user stories for the app. So user stories is a process used to capture the description of a software feature from the end user's perspective. Basically, for each type of user, you write down what you'd like them to be able to do and why. So for this app, I have two user types, website visitors and company owners. So if you see here, as a visitor, I can view a list of companies so that I can contact them. So you have the user, what you want them to do and why. So number two, as a website visitor, I can search and sort the companies so that I can find the one I need. And then lastly, a different user, the company owner. As a company owner, I can add my company details so that I can be contacted. So it's a super simple app, super simple user stories, and our aim is just to create something that can do that for the users. So the next thing I do, and again, this is away from Bubble, is I draw some wireframes. Wireframes are used to establish the basic structure and layout for your app before any content or visual design is needed. I like doing this by hand when I'm the person using the wireframe, but there are also loads of great wireframing tools on the web. So if you see for this app, you can see I've done very rough sketches. Many apologies for that, but it shows we have one page where the users can view and search through business cards. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. That is a bad business card. But we then have a button which in the header called add company, which opens up the pop-up at the bottom. That is just a simple form where the company owners can add and save their details. Looking at this image now, I was sure when I drew it, it looked better than that, but there we go. All right then, let's open up Bubble and get started. Cool. Hello. So we start on the home page and we're going to create a new app. Call it something simple like companies list. If we were starting from a template, you can add the template here. We can add in what we're building, which is a directory, and create the new app. So when this loads, it'll come up with the new application assistant first, which is just a few useful steps to help you get started. We don't actually need to use that today because we're going to be starting from scratch. So just quickly flick through that. Then, as you can see, Bubble adds a lot of different elements already on the page just to show you how everything works. again, we can get rid of them. And that's it. And then it's worth noting they add in this header as well. So this header actually can't be edited from this page. So we're on the index page, and that's because it's a reusable element. So if you wanted to edit that, that is kept in here, where this is where you can flick between the different pages, and then you can flick between the different reusable elements. So a reusable element means that you can add it to every single page and just edit that element from one place. So here. But for today, we won't be using that. So we can delete that as well. So here we go. We've got a blank page. This is the Bubble interface. As you can see, if it's your first time, it can be a little bit overwhelming to start with, but we're going to go through it slowly and you can see how it works. So to start with, on the left, these are the different tabs. So we've got the design, the workflow, the data, and the styles, and they're the 4 that we're going to be going through today. We don't need to go through plugins or the settings or the logs today because we're just doing a really simple app, and I'm just showing you how to create your first app. So I start with, when Bubble's up, the data and the database tab. So the database is where all your data and information for the app is stored, and where all the data is pulled from by the app. So if you have an image or a list of users, all their information will be kept in here. And then if on your app you need to say display that image, it gets called from this database. So the way that is set up is you have, as shown here, you have data types, and then each data type has a list of fields, and each field has a field name and a data type as well itself, a field type. So for this database, I designed it using the wireframes. I looked through it and we can see that we have 2 data types. We have the user, and that'll be the person logging in, say the company owner, to add their information. And then we have the company, and that's all the data and information about the company. So as you can see here, for the user, we'll get their email, their name, and we'll link their company back to them. So for the company, we'll just have the company name, company size, location, which as you can see is a geographic address, whereas the others were texts. Then we'll get a company phone, company email, description, and a logo, which is an image. So let's start adding that in. So when your Bubble app loads, it will already have the user data type, and it will already have, within that data type, it'll have the email field. So we don't need to that. All we need to add in is the name, the full name, that is a text. And as you can see, that is now here. And we can't add in company yet because the field type company we haven't created that yet. So now we're going to go and create the company type. So here you create company. Great. And then you can add the fields to company here. So we'll create a new field call it company name. Company size. I've made that a text because we're just going to add it in as, company size. That data will come from a drop down, but we'll go into that later. Location, which, like I said, is a geographic address. Company phone. We can just add a phone. So we'll add in the company email. So the reason we're doing that is basically in case the user logs in with a different email to the email they want to be shown for the business. Text. Then we'll have a description of the business. Text again, and then we'll finish with the company logo, which will be an image. Cool. So that's the database setup. Yeah. So that's the database setup and ready to go. And if you want to view any data that has been added to the site, you have the app data tab here. If you click on that, you can see that we have all users and all companies. So if you click on, say, all companies, you can see we have a table with all that information. So every time a new company is added, it gets added to this table here. A new row gets added to this table here. So the reason I set up the database now is so that I can add in the privacy rules. You add privacy rules to make sure sensitive data can only be seen by the people who should be able to see it. If you add these in at the end, sometimes you can find that maybe this will affect the way your app works. So for this app, for the company, all that data and information is going to be public anyway, so we don't need to define any new roles for that. But for the user, we want to make sure that only the user would be able to view their own data. So let's define a new role. Of course, call it something simple like user. And we'll say that the current user, when the current user is this user, they can view all their. They can't view their data, but we have access to the database, and if we were to do a call, we can view their data. But for everyone else, there's no reason why they need to be able to. So what this means is that when someone's logged out, there is no way that their emails can be accidentally accessed. So once the privacy roles are done, the next step I like to do before going to the design is set up the styles tab. So the styles tab is there to make sure that your app has a consistent and nice design throughout. It also means that if you want to rebrand or change your design, you can do so without having to change every single button on your app. So I'll show you how that works. First we'll apply a theme. So, with some apps, I might do my own theme and go through the styles and maybe work with a designer and set it up like that. But for this, I'm just going to pick a theme here, and I'm going to pick the Google Material Design. So you pick the theme here, press apply, and now that will have changed all the elements here. If we go to, say, the standard button, which we'll be using in this app, you can see that all the different design for it is here, and we can change it here. So, we can change the color to black. So how that's actually used is if we go to the design tab and we add 3 buttons to the screen. 1, 2, 3. We'll name them. And this will look a bit foreign to you at the moment, but we'll come to that. 3. So you've got your 3 buttons, and you can set the style of those buttons here. So they're currently set as the standard because that's the standard button. So 1 and 2 we'll set as standard, and then number 3 we'll go off and do our own style, and we'll change that to red. So now to see what happens is with the styles, is if we go to the styles tab and we go to the standard button and we want to change that from this color to, say, a darker black, and then we change it, we can see that has changed both 1 and 2. But 3 hasn't changed because 3 doesn't have that style. But if we decided that we want 3 to have that style, we can go here and we can click the standard button, and now it goes back to the same style as the ones here. And then, if we go back now, we can change that back. So it's a pretty handy way to do things, but it's, when I started my first app, I didn't do any styles. I just went straight into it, set it up however I wanted, and then I went back and updated the styles later, which was quite time consuming. But now I've got a bit more experience. I set up my styles first, and then that just keeps everything consistent throughout, and I only need to change it in one place. So when you have an app with lots of different pages and lots of different buttons, and those buttons might be hidden, it's super handy to be able to keep everything within a certain style and just change it with a couple clicks instead of going through everything. Cool, let's get into the design. Cool, so Bubble is a visual way to make apps. So using the wireframes we created earlier, we can start using Bubble's drag and drop functionality to start adding everything we want to in place. So to start with, I will add in a header. Before that, I'll just mention the page is already set up as being 1,200 wide, and the height will change throughout. We can make it responsive, and I'll talk about making it responsive later. But to start with, we'll just design the app like this. So for the header, we'll start by adding in a group. As you can see, this is automatically given a style. we'll give that a height of 60, maybe 80, no, 60. So that's already given a style. It has this sort of shaded outline. For the header, it doesn't need to have a style, so we'll get rid of that. Get rid of the blur radius. It's added this. We'll just add no shadow style. So now we've got a blank group, but it would be good to have, sort of differentiate the header from the rest of that. So we'll just add a simple line for now. This app's not going to be the best designed in the world because I just want to show you through everything. And yeah, design can take a bit of time, so I'm going to try and not get too distracted doing lots of design. So so we define each border independently, and we'll just add a solid line to the bottom of the header. Nice and simple. So in the header, from the sketches, we can see that we just have what you would put the logo here. Obviously we don't have a logo. We'll just add it in as a heading text, probably maybe a heading 2, and we will call that companies list. .com. So I don't know if that exists already. It's more like something from 1999, but nice and simple. And as you can see, I'm just dragging and dropping everything, and you can change up the view so you can add in grids. You can add it so you can snap to elements and edges. You just kind of do whatever you want. Change it so that you get used to dragging and dropping stuff and put it in place. The other thing Bubble's quite good for is that it has this show distances on hover option. So you can see that this heading is a height of 34, and currently compared to the group, it's not quite central. So we'll move that up just using the keyboard. So it's even. Move it this way slightly. Cool. So the next thing in the header we have is a button. So before mentioning that, it's worth saying that the group I picked for this is just a standard normal group. So what that means is that when it scrolls, it will scroll upwards anyway. If you wanted the header to stay at the top of the screen the whole time, so even when you're scrolling down, the header is always there, then you would use a floating group. And the floating group just means that it will stay relevant to wherever you say, rather than if it's the top or the bottom. So we'll add in the button. And that is add company. Again, we'll just make sure get it central. Just change the height so it's the same as the text. I don't think that matters too much. But yeah, so now I'll just show you on another screen if we wanted to preview stuff. So after we click the preview button in the top right, it opens a new tab showing what we've got, what we've done so far. So as you can see, because this is, the logo we put and the button we added. But yeah, as my screen is wider than the 1200 pixels that the page is, it hasn't stretched to fit it at the moment, but we'll cover the responsiveness later. Cool. So now we've added in a button and the fit and the logo and text. We'll add in an input. So the input is down here. This is for the main search box that's going to go at the top of the page. Yeah, we'll try and keep it a consistent size. So keep it width 500. Keep it 50 for now. And then we'll just make that central. So once that's added in, that will give users somewhere they can type. As you can see, it has this type here placeholder, which can be changed in this box here. So yeah, so I think I've missed explaining what this box is, and it's super important. So sorry about that. This is where you can make changes to an element. So, or when you click on a different element, it changes each time. Each different type of element has a slightly different layout because for different things. And you can it's a really powerful way to do lots of different things. So say with this one here, we want to change what the placeholder is. We want to add in, say, enter your search here. And then you can see it's changed the text there. So there's lots of different options, and as we go, I will go through the different options that are here. That's probably the best way to explain it, so it doesn't I don't overwhelm you all at once. Cool. So the next thing we want to do, I'm just looking at our wireframes, is we need to add in the repeating group so that all the different businesses can be displayed. So we'll choose a repeating group. And what a repeating group does is it's basically for when you have a list of things, and that list is going to be that list will connect to the database and anything that you have within that repeating group will show the data from the database. So you'll see this as I move along. So we'll just make this 2 rows for now. And as you can see, we've got our first error, and that is because we haven't added a type of content. So the type of content this repeating group is going to be is the companies. So we'll just add that in for now, but we're not going to go into where that data comes from just yet. I'll set that up later, as we're just focusing on the design right now. So we've got a repeating group. Within our repeating group, we're actually going to add another group. And if you can see, when you're adding that group, the bottom of the repeating group goes red here. How many times did I say group then? So there you go. So what's interesting is that if you see when that's been added in, it's duplicated. And it will be duplicated however many times, depending on how long your list is. So if you have 10 companies on your list, then this repeating group will have 10 of these groups showing the 10 companies. Cool. So just make this full size. Cool. And so again, using our wireframes, we'll just add in the company information into this group, which is, it's kind of, the style is like a business card, kind of. You're showing the company's business card. So we'll scroll down and find image. Add that here. Totally missed the group. Now I think we're in it. Yep. So obviously with the images, when the image is like this, standard image, it can be quite hard to see where the image is. So if we just quickly go and edit the style of the image, and add a dotted line, we can actually see where that image is. And then before we finish the app, we can go back to the style and just get rid of that dotted line so that the image is just on its own. Cool. So we'll make this square. We'll actually make our repeating group wider because it doesn't matter now. It just gives us a bit more space. Cool. Then we'll add in the text for the business name. For now, I'm just going to call that business name because I'll show you how to add in. Yeah, I'm trying. Okay. Yeah. So for now, I'll just add it in as just the text, and then we'll change it up later for what we want it to actually show. So we'll make that slightly bigger, maybe a heading 3. So yeah, I'm just copying and pasting because being lazy. The next bit we'll have is the company size. Change this back to the body size text. then the location. Then if I just have a look at the database again to double check I'm doing everything right. We'll add in the phone. And then we'll add in the email. So like I said, the design isn't going to be the best, but all the information is going to be there. And yeah, you can fiddle about with that later if you like. So the last thing to add is just down the bottom here, we'll add the full description. Cool. So that is, I think, everything we're going to have for the business, what we're going to display for each company. Has anyone with eagle eyes spotted what I've missed? I forgot to add in up here an option to sort this list. So we've got this text box to enter any search in. We also said that we want to allow users to be able to sort this list. So when I say sort this list, I mean, change the order of the list from, say, alphabetical order to company size. And that's the only two options we're going to do today. So to do that, I'm going to add in a drop down here. And and we will I will show you how that works again later. Oh, I can actually show you. So for this drop down, we're going to do, because just for keeping it simple, we're going to do static choices, and we're going to have two choices, and that is you can sort it by the company name and you can sort it by the company size. And we can do two ways of sorting that. Largest first, and company size smallest first. And then because we want, we're going to, so what we're going to have is we're going to have users. So we're going to organize it. Sorry, I'm having a blank moment. The default value, so what it loads as, we'll load it up as sorting by company name. So we can add that as the default value here. Cool. So let's have a preview of that. Cool. So as you can see, we've got a text box. When we type anything, we've got a drop down, which needs to be made a bit wider, but you can select the different things there. And as you can see from our repeating group, it's not showing what we've just done. And that is because we have no data. So it has nothing to show. So I'll show you how to set that up in a minute. But yeah, it's a good first start, and we'll get into that now. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is add the pop-up and the design for the pop-up. So when this button's clicked, it's going to show a pop-up where the company can add in their company information. Before it shows that, it'll actually show a login pop-up, which I'll create as well in a second after the company information pop-up. So if we're doing a pop-up, click pop-up here, create the size you want, and you can see this goes on top of the page. It's almost like its own screen, but it's a group within here, so a group of its own. So for this one, we want to just add in add in the title, and we'll make it a header. We'll also add in an icon. So there's icon here. There is, they have a whole list of different icons you can add in. Generally, they have the most of the ones that you need, but there is plugins to get other icons that are different designs. We'll just add in this cross here, make it a bit smaller. Again, it just has this standard material style, which just leave as that for now. So that's just so that they can close the pop-up if they don't need to change anything. Once that's done, we'll add an image input. So this is all going to be about the inputs. It's because we're trying to get the users to add in data, add in information. So the first one will be the picture uploader, which comes with Bubble. We'll make it the same size as the current image. And we'll change the placeholder here to say click to upload logo. So the way the picture uploader works is that users can click. I think they might be able to drag and drop. I'm not 100%, but they can click. This will open up a folder where they can upload an image, And then once they upload the image, that'll show in this space here. So we'll just make that central. And yeah, that doesn't look great, but like I said, we're not focusing on the design right now, and we can maybe do that afterwards. So now the next thing we are doing is we want to get their company name. And to do that, that'll be just an input. Cool. And we'll just add the placeholder as company name again. It's good to note that when you change the placeholder name of the input, it actually changes the input's name. So this will come in handy later when we need to access the text that is within that input. It's good to have a name here that you can remember or you can find quite easily. Cool, so we'll make this a bit bigger. Next, we have the company size. So for the company size, I'm going to do a drop down. That is because we want to give the users just a list of ranges and options, and then whatever's within that drop down we will save just as a text for now, just to keep it simple. Just change that to company size, and then again this should not be empty. We'll check that. And then so when you're adding in the choices, which I should have maybe mentioned earlier, to add a different choice, you just press enter. So we'll do 1 to 10. We'll do 11 to 25 to 50. 50 to 100. 100 to 500. This, yeah, doesn't really matter too much now. It's more just to get an idea for the company size. So now we're going to add in the company size. And actually, again, we can copy both of these because it's going to be an input again. But this input, again, it'll be company size. And worth noting, it changed the input name again, which is good because we don't want to get them mixed up. But the content format for this input isn't going to be text. We just want it to be a integer, so a number. Obviously, it can't be a decimal because you can't have half a person, but so So we'll just leave it as an integer. Cool. The next one on the list was location. And actually, again, that will be another input. But like the company size, it will have a different content format. And that content format will be an address. So what this means is that if you add it as an address, Bubble will actually search for the address or the location that the user puts in. So say if they put in the US, it will just come up with the US. Say they put in a bit more specific, like California, it'll put California. But say you put a specific address, it will actually put that specific address. It will generally find that specific address. It's pretty awesome. That is. What was next on the list? So let me just have a look at what we're adding. So we need to add phone, email, and description. So open back a pop-up here. So the pop-ups, when you open your page, the pop-up will always be hidden, but you can find it in the elements tree here. So, or you can search for it up here. We already have these pop-ups on. I have no idea where they're from. I think they were added by accident. So we can delete them. Cool. So back in our pop-up. Cool. So we can just copy all of these. Make this slightly longer. And then we'll add in the company phone. Ooh. So if you're in the US, or if you know that all your users are going to be in the US, you can use the US phone content format, and that will add it in as in that format, that style. But for now, we're just going to leave it as a text because so that you can enter in any number from around the world. Company size. It's not not company size. We've done company size. This one is company email. And that content format will be an email. So that means that if someone enters in like something that's not in the email, like not an email, if it's just a piece of text, Bubble will notice that and notify them. And then the next one is the description. So with the description, we're actually going to change this text box to because this input currently is just a one-line input. But for the description, we want people to be able to enter more information. So for this, we'll add in a multi-line input. You can see the design's pretty much the same and it looks the same, but users can type in more information here. So again, the name changes as you type in the placeholder. So that's all the company information we need. Obviously, like I said, the design's not perfect, but it should be enough for what we need. And just finally, I need to add in a button to press save to save it. So full capitals. Cool. So that is the design of the pop-up, and that's, I think, everything we need for that right now. Cool. So the final thing to mention with the design is the sign up and login pop-up. So Bubble, with every new app, they already have a sign up and login pop-up already within the app with all the workflows and everything set up. So we actually don't need to do anything for that, as it will, it's already here. So if you want to change that, if you look here, it's in the reusable elements. You can go in and change anything there. So now we have our app looking how we want. We need to go and sort out the workflows, and we use this to save and display the data and information we want. So for this app, the first thing we want to do is allow users to be able to save their companies. So if that'll be done by clicking this Add Company button. So if you want to open the workflow with this button, you can double click it and click Start/Edit Workflow, and then that will open the Workflows tab with this event already there. Alternatively, you can add the event by clicking here and do, when an element is clicked, and pick the Add button to Add Company. So there's two events doing the same. You can delete that. So what this means is that the event is what triggers an action, and the action does what you want your app to do. So for this one, we want to, when Add Company is clicked, we want the users to be logged in. If they're not, we want them to log in if they haven't logged in, or sign up if they haven't signed up before. But if they're already logged in, we want to just show the other pop-up where they can enter in their company information. So if we click here to add action, then we go down to element actions and click show. This comes up with this screen here where we can say show the sign up/login pop-up. Then we can click only when the current user isn't logged in. Then we can go again, we can go show, we can do an action saying show Popup A. I'd rename that if I had more pop-ups, but it's okay for now. When the current user is logged in, then they can see Popup A. Cool. So now we can preview that if we click here. So here we go. Yeah, looks pretty much exactly the same. But now when you click add company, the sign up pop-up pops up. And then you've got a choice. If you're already a user, you can, well, if you're not a user, you can sign up. If you are a user, you can log in. So this design is just using the design we put earlier. I'll add in my email and password and sign up. Cool. So now I'm signed up. And ideally, you can see straight away that the other pop-up hasn't popped up. That's because we didn't add that in. But if I press add company now, because I'm signed in, this pop-up shows. And we can click to upload an image. We can type in a name, company name, company size. Notice we can only add in numbers here. I can't add in text. Like I mentioned with the location stuff earlier, when you type in your location, it should recognize it. It's not, but I'll look into that in a bit. Yeah, so that's everything there. But when you press save, nothing. It doesn't do anything because we haven't set that up yet. So that's what we'll do now. And the same as the cross, we haven't set that up, so it's not going to do anything. Cool. So let's add the workflows for the pop-up. We'll start very quickly by adding the workflow for the cross. For this one, all we want to do is hide the pop-up. Simple. So when that's clicked, the pop-up will be hidden. The next one is save. And what we're doing now is we want to save all the information that the users input above. So we want to create a new thing in the data, in the database. So if we go on data, things, and we create a new thing. So the type of thing we want to create is a company. And we can press the add all fields button here so we remember to do them all. So here they are. Here's everything that we added to the database earlier. And we can start adding it in. So if we go on company email, that will be the input from the company email, its value, and that's it. So then we do it again for the name, input company name, its value, that's done. Company size, again, input company size value. We want multi-line description, its value. Location will be input company location. Hang on a minute. So input company locations value. So I don't know what just happened then. It's confusing. And then the logo will be, if we look at the image uploader, where is that? Picture uploader. So we've only got one, so we know it's this one. Click to upload a logo, then the image will be that value. And then lastly, the phone number, input company phone, its value, done. So also when they click save, after this new, this has been added to the database, then we can hide the pop-up. Done. So that's the save. We'll take a look at how that looks now. Cool. So before we do that, I just quickly need to go and fix some problems I made earlier. Firstly, we want to tick this box for most of the inputs. So this input should not be empty. This will stop users uploading incomplete data and incomplete companies. So if you tick that and then do the same for all of the inputs, then we know that then you won't be able to press the save button without if these are empty. So that's one problem that I forgot about. And then the next one, I did the location wrong. So I picked an input and put the content format as address. So what would happen with that is you can enter anything and then it would save the closest address to it. But what we want to actually do is use a search box here and then let users search for a geographic address. So if we right-hand click this and you can press replace by another type, and we have the options here and we pick search box, then press replace. Obviously the design is different, I guess, because the Google Materials theme doesn't have a style for this type of box. Oh yeah, it does, has a standard search box, so that's better. But if we click on this and change the choice styles to geographic places, now when we preview it, you should be able to see that we search for addresses and it will come up with options that are close to what you type in. So just going back to the save workflow, we'll just double check that the data saves the new box that we've entered. Yeah. So if you look location, it saves the search box company location. So that's a super quick way to make a change if you've done something wrong, and it changes everything for you. So that's really good. Another thing I missed here is once we hide the pop-up, it will save the data, it'll hide the pop-up, but the inputs will actually still have the information from earlier. So what we want to do is just go to element actions and then reset relevant inputs. So it'll reset those inputs, it'll clear them, and if a user wants to add another company, they can. So yeah, sorry about that. Quick little fix though, which is the great thing about Bubble. It's super easy to fix a problem which will inevitably pop up. Cool, so let's add a company and see if it's all working. So as you can see, I've got my email. sign up. Cool. Now we're signed up. We haven't added in an action so that after you sign up, it opens the pop-up again, but we can maybe add that in pretty easily. Press add company again, and here's our pop-up. We can add in a company. We'll just add in YouTube. I have no idea how many people work there. For the company location, now you can see that it's actually does search properly, so you can go really specific. For now, we're just adding California. The company phone, we'll just add in a random phone number. Company email, we'll add in youtube@youtube.com. I wouldn't test that, I'm not sure if it's real. And then add in a bit of a description. So YouTube is a video sharing platform. So now you press save. And the pop-up closed like we expected. But obviously it's blank because we haven't set up this repeating group to show the data or collect the data from the database. If you look at the add company though, it's cleared and we can add another company if we wanted to. But now we can just cross that off and that button works as well. So yeah, I'll show you where that data's gone in the database. Okay, so now that data's been added, you can view that in the database here. So if you go on app data, as we said earlier, and all companies, you can see that this company has been added to the database. That can actually be edited here. I wouldn't recommend that, but you can view all the information in the database here. So now we need to access that information and display it. So the way we do that is we'll start with the repeating group. And if we click on the repeating group, we've already put the type of content as company. Now we need to do a search and, well, we need to add in the data source, and we do that by doing a search for, we're looking for company, and at the moment we're just displaying all the companies, but say you only wanted to display one type of company or one user's list of companies, you can add in a constraint and change it like that. Say you created by equals the current user, then it'll only show the companies that the current user has added. But if we delete that, it shows all the companies that are in the database. So that's good for now. Now, if we click on the group, this group, this type of content is going to be company, and we just want it to show its current sales company. So what that means is that when you do the search in the database, it will display the companies, the list of companies. What this group though, this group just shows the company information for that entry in the database. So now we'll add in the name, and to change text, you go insert dynamic data. It's the parent group's company, and then we want to display the company name. So that's how you display the text. So then we do that again for all of these. With company size, we will we'll actually add in our own text saying that like what the number is company size. Then we'll press a space. Then we'll insert the dynamic data after this text. Parent company, company size. For location, we don't need to tell them that it's a location. They should be able to work that out. So we can add in parent companies, location. Again, we'll put phone and we'll tell them that it's the phone number. Parent group, phone, and then email. Again, we'll tell them that it's the email. But they should be able to figure that out. Cool. And then lastly, description. We will add the parent company's description, which is there. So then it's just the logo. So you can upload just a static image, so that will just show the same image every time. Bubble does actually give an option to search for images if you want a stock image, but now we're going to add in a dynamic image because we need to add in the company's logo. It's parent company, and then we'll pick the logo, and that is that. Currently, it's rescaling that logo. We'll see how that looks, and we can come back and we can change it to stretch or adjust the element height. Cool. So now that should be showing the data that we want it to show. We'll have a quick look, see how it looks, and then we'll look at adding in the search and sort features. Cool. Let's preview. Cool. So here we go. All your data's in place. I've added a few more companies just to show you how it works. As you can see, the design is not ideal at the moment and the alignment's all off. So I do a little section at the end where we tidy up all the design and just make it look a bit nicer. But yeah, as you can see, it's calling the data from the database. And yeah, it's everything we aim to do. At the moment, though, as you can see, the search box isn't currently working, and it doesn't sort it by how we want either. So let's do that. Cool. So let's set up the search. So basically what we want to do is when a user types a search into this input here, then the repeating group will show the company that they've searched for. So you do this by clicking on the repeating group, going on search for companies, add a new constraint, and then we go on any field. So if any field contains the input that's in the search box, if any field contains that value, then it will show back what we want. But you have to remember to click ignore empty constraints, because otherwise it'll just try and show you nothing because the input's empty by default. So click ignore empty constraints, and we'll go and have a look at that. So now you can see the search box is empty, but it's still we can still see our companies. But if you're to type in that box, you can see it changes, and then it displays what you've searched for and only that. So yeah, that's great. Let's do this. Let's sort out the sort. Cool. So now we're gonna add in the sort. So by default, it'll sort by company name. So if we go on search for companies, and where we've added in the constraint, there's also this sort by function. So if we go sort by company name and we add descending as no, now it should sort by company name, so alphabetically. So now when we change this to company size smallest first, we'll do largest first. We'll copy and paste this phrase. We'll add in a condition so that it will sort differently. There may be a better way to do that, but I just want to go over conditions with you and show you how these work. So a condition is basically when something is a certain way, then you can make this element behave differently. So when what was this input called? When drop down sort by value is, and I've copied and pasted this. It's not the best way to do it, but it's more just to show you how it works. So when it is this value, we're going to change the data source. So the data source will be the same as it is now, but with a different sort by. So we can copy this, copy expression, paste the expression, and we can sort by company side, and that will be descending yes, I think. So then we can do the same again, except this time we'll do the smallest first. So we'll copy this. We can copy this. Drop down, sort by, value is, then we paste what we copied. So it's company size smallest first. So when the drop down equals this, then we change this data source again to search for companies, and then we change the sort. It's still company size, but this time it's no. So now that should be working how we want to, and it will sort differently each time. So let's have a look. So now you can see it's sorting by company name, so alphabetically. Then when we change the largest first, it's the largest company first, and then smallest first, the smallest company first. It's perfect. I'd recommend testing your apps thoroughly because you'll always find bugs and problems. But we'll just do a quick review and update. I'll show you how to update the design and the responsiveness very quickly. So as you can see here, the header isn't reaching right to the edges. I think that's because this group will be a fixed width. We can change that easily. This search box is stretching with the app, so you can see that. This isn't staying in line because this sort by doesn't move, but the repeating group moves, and also the repeating group has these lines and this scroll that doesn't look great. So we'll change that now. Okay, so we'll start by just changing the design of the repeating group. If we click here, we can change it from vertical scrolling to full list. Now it will just display all the companies, and we can change the separato from dashed to none because we've already got our group. Our group already has a border. This group already has a border. Cool. So I think that was that with that. Now if we go on responsiveness, we can actually see what the app does as it changes. So you can see, if it's on mobile, we can see what it would look like. Not great. If we go on desktop, we can see it here as well. So as you can see, some things start to extend and some don't. So this one doesn't, but we want it to, so that it stays in line throughout. Whereas everything else, for now, I'm just going to make fixed width. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on the responsiveness side of things, but if I just keep it fixed width, it all should stay in line. So as you can see, this sort by is moving. I'll see if I can change that. So the way we can stop that from doing that is I'll add it into a group with this search function. So do that quickly. If you click on the two, if you hold down Control, you can select both, right-hand click, and then group elements in a group. So that group has got the standard group border. We actually don't want this group to have any sort of settings. Get rid of that. Any styles, I mean. So now got rid of that. If we go on responsiveness, you can see that again, this group needs to stay fixed width. But now you can see that it stays exactly where we want it. So the app isn't mobile responsive, which isn't ideal. Obviously, if this was something you were going to actually put out to your customers, but for now, I'll leave that for another video again. Cool. So let's preview. So there we go. That is a very simple, very rough, nowhere near perfect app that just shows you how you can add information to the database, display that information, how my whole process and worked when I'm working with Bubble. And yeah, you can see that it's working reasonably well. There's lots of sort of little bits and pieces I can add to make it work properly. So, for instance, an edit, but I'll add that another time and maybe make another video. Cool. Thanks.